Hey, Helene, do you remember back in COVID when Trump made that weird statement suggesting that injecting disinfectant might be a potential cure to the pandemic?
Yeah, Luna, I vividly remember how people actually believed him. I mean, looking back at the absurdity, it's easy to laugh, but at the time it had serious consequences that could have been disastrous: public confusion, media frenzy, and even cases of poisoning.
We can all agree that the COVID-19 pandemic was a time of fear. It was a time of hysteria, and especially a time of increasing misinformation.
The most bewildering part? How social media takes an unchecked, unqualified source and turns it into one that seems to be reliable. I mean, coming from a politician, people seem to believe his every word, even when Trump admitted that he was not a doctor. This moment, yeah, this moment exemplifies a bigger issue, however: how digital discourse has changed our political views. We're in an era where misinformation is spread faster than facts, information that is radical, eye catching, and even algorithmically amplified blurs the distinction between reality and fiction.
Social media, while connecting billions, is therefore also further driving us apart, fueling political polarization, as the same news can be portrayed differently on each platform and by unverified sources. Today, we'll explore how political communication on social media accelerates division, why that matters for society, and what we can do to counteract its effects. Let's break it down. Social media platforms prioritize engagement, often undermining or forfeiting the truth. The more outrageous a post, the more engagement it gets. For example, Binghamton University's study found that more eccentric or extreme ideas tend to gather more likes on social media platforms. This is because algorithms reward us on what keeps us entertained, not what keeps us informed. In fact, Europol predicts that by 2026, 90% of online content may be synthetically generated using artificial intelligence. Isn't that crazy?
That's a huge number.
This means that sensationalism and misinformation can spread rapidly, shaping public opinion based on engagement rather than accuracy. As a result, algorithms will reinforce existing beliefs by continuously feeding us similar content. This is called the echo chamber effect.
That's right, Luna. I mean, imagine you're in a round room surrounded by mirrors that solely reflect your own opinion back at you. That's what social media does. It curates content based on what you already like, trapping you in an ideological bubble, even without you realizing this. When met with political opinions, it can get especially dangerous because people are then provoked to act upon their beliefs.
Well said, Hayden. A recent example of this took place on January 6, 2021, in the US, in which an angry Republican mob, fueled by Donald Trump's vocal claims of election fraud, attacked the Capitol in hopes of reclaiming Trump's presidency. However, the attack was less a spontaneous accident and more a deliberate attack on democracy and the rule of law. Driven by false claims of poll deception, fueled by conspiracy theories and misinformation online, and propagated by people of power, the result triggered mass violence and emotion backed clashes. The digital divide is not just ideological, it's a real world problem that breeds aggression and fragments our society, posing a real threat to democracy.
Precisely, and a fully blooming example of governments utilizing social media to twist the narrative in their own favor can be observed in seemingly democratic countries, where they go as far as banning social media platforms completely. Such incidents underscore the government's efforts to control dissenting voices while maintaining an illusion of democratic governance. The intertwining of state controlled media and social media platforms therefore creates an environment where the ruling party can dominate public discourse. This dynamic not only suppresses opposition, but also deepens our ideological divides within society.
On October 7th, 2023, following Hamas' attack on Israel, the Israeli Foreign Affairs Ministry pushed dozens of online ads, including graphic videos, to millions of Europeans in hopes of drumming up support for its actions and shape opinion about the war. Justifiable or not, this is an example of how a governmental power utilizes and manipulates social media to its own advantage. By providing only its own perspective, Israel builds up its own narrative, neglecting other views, ultimately resulting in polarizing opinions and misinformation.
And considering Luna's point is especially important because we are witnessing a shift towards a decline, possibly, of democracy through our German election results. We've all seen how the German far-right party AfD has continued to gain votes, placing them as the second party or second strongest party in the government. One of the arguably main reasons for this is the pivotal role social media has played in marketing their ideological perspectives online. Through hashtags, bots, video content, and slogans such as Sei schlau wie blau, they have continued to gain support, especially amongst young voters. This shows how social media is used by political parties to alter opinions and switch the audience's narrative in their favor.
But we are not powerless. There are concrete steps we can take to foster a more united and informed society. Countries should adopt media literacy programs, as seen in Finland, in which students are taught to critically analyze news sources, recognize bias, and identify misinformation at a young age.
And you can start doing this yourself by taking responsibility for verifying information. Websites such as All Sides offer a range of perspectives that you can use to compare different information to. This can help users break free from their ideological bubbles, and thus lateral reading, so checking multiple reputable sources, should become your new habit in digital consumption. The power to combat misinformation and political polarization lies in our collective efforts and ambition. By demanding accountability, prioritizing education, and fostering critical thinking, we can rebuild a public discourse grounded in truth rather than sensationalism. Now is the time to act, to stand together and be critical, because democracy lies in our hands.
Thank you.